Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome. It is Drama Free Friday. I'm glad you're here. Everybody can see and hear okay. Sound check, video check. What a great group we have in here today. Thank you so much for being here. Just checking my computers here. Great to have you all joining. I know it's been forever, Dawn. I know. Feels like it, doesn't it? Oh, what a great group. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here. Judy says she needed a drama-free Friday. Well, don't we all? Hey, Debbie. Boy, there's so many people here at the moment. I'm going to try to say hello to you. Dorothy and Joan and Marion, Carrie. I think that was what I saw. And so I'm just checking through. Clausman's here. Clausman is in the house. Clausman's a moderator. So everybody has to behave because he's got a big stick. The better to, yes. Hi, Yvette, Jane, Judy. Who else? Lori. Hey, Shelly, Crafty Mama Shelly. Carrie Ann. Hottie Popo. Hottie Popo is Susan. Or, as some people call her, Hottie Poo Poo. But it's really Hottie Popo. Hi, Miss Allie. Hi, Penn. Hello, Frederica and Alta. And, Angela, Linda McAllister, and Patty Bear. Okay, that's everybody I see. I may not get to say hello to any of the rest of you by name as you're coming in. So everybody make everyone feel welcome if you would. And Dawn and Susan and anybody else I missed. Anyway, welcome to Drama Free Friday. I'm Barb Owen. This is, I'm from HowToGetCreative.com. This is our monthly live stream. And we have a special guest today. He's going to be on in a few minutes. Right now, I'm just sitting here dreaming a little bit. Drinking a little cup of Zen tea. It's been a crazy busy week. Does anybody else feel like it's been crazy? I'll tell you, one of the things that's been crazy around here is the weather. The weather in this place, I don't know what is going on, but Easter Sunday, we had snow and sleet. We had snow and sleet. Hello, Dana. You're lurking? Okay. Yes, we had snow and sleet on Easter, which was the first day of April, which was also April Fool's. So I guess the joke was on us. And then it was warm yesterday up until like the upper 50s or low 60s. Okay, that was Thursday. So Sunday, snow. Thursday, 50s and 60s. And then I think it's on this coming Sunday, we might get snow again. It's crazy. It's goofy. Anyway, putting my tea over there with a lid on it to try and keep it warm. So that's a crazy thing, and it's just been busy around here. You know, I've just been doing a lot of stuff, and I'm going to show you, give you just a real quick peek at what's been going on in the studio this week, and last week, and the week before. Before I forget, tomorrow is the VIP class, so all VIP members, check your email later today. It's not been sent yet, but it'll be sent later today for your class, which is tomorrow at 2 Eastern. The link will be in your email. And let's see, anything else that's gone on that I need to tell you? I don't know. Hello, everyone. I see Carla and Jane and Janet and Kia and Christine and everybody else that's here. Catherine. Oh, Catherine says her mom and dad married in a snowstorm April 10th, so expect snow till then. Ugh. bite your tongue. So some of the things we've been doing on YouTube, periodically I put up a review video for just different kinds of products and things that I come across. One of the recent ones I did was about different kinds of journals. This one, just take a look at this. I'm telling you, is that not the prettiest color you've ever seen in your life? This is a stone journal. It's made out of stone paper. So this is a completely tree-free book, it says. And it feels like stone. It's heavy. Anyway, it comes in a couple of sizes. This is the one I got. The other one that I really am enjoying is this one, which is, and pardon me for not saying the name right, Leuchtturm, I think is how it's pronounced, but I could be wrong. Anyway, this is the journal, and it's hardback. And what I've been using it for, one of the cool things about it is it has a table of contents, or whatever you would like to call it, index table of contents, whatever, where you can take the numbered pages, because every page has a number on it, and then you can reference it in your table of contents. Anyway, what I'm doing is just using it to, when I'm watching TV or, listening to something on the television and don't really want to pay attention. I've been drawing some Zentangle patterns in it, and every once in a while I make a drastic mistake, and so I just write oops and cross it out and keep on going. I don't worry about it. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But it's a dot grid paper, this particular one, and it's kind of fun to use. So, been doing that a little bit. What else? I've created some mixed media fabrics. This is part of the classes on the website, so I thought I would just give you a quick look through these. So these are different iterations of mixed media fabrics. And before anybody asks, no, they're not washable. I always get that question. And I have to tell you, I don't know, I can't imagine a scenario. There might be one, but I can't imagine a scenario where I really want to wash mixed media fabric. I'm not going to wear it. It's, yeah, the mixed media stuff tends to make it not have a lot of drape, and so, yeah, I'm not going to wear it. Therefore, I don't know why I'd wash it, but, that's me. So welcome to everybody that's coming in. It's really great to have you here. I see, the chat is really moving on, so hang on, tighten your seatbelts, because it could be a bumpy ride here today. I doubt it, but it might be. So anyway, back to the fabric. So this is some of the mixed media fabric. I really enjoy having, an assortment of lights, everything from light to medium to dark, and all different colorways. That I also enjoy having cool colored fabrics in the same thing, very light to very busy to, some that aren't quite so busy. And then from those mixed media fabrics will come projects. And so these are little canvases, they're little floating pieces of art on a stretched canvas. So these are created with the mixed media fabrics. So those are classes that are at HowToGetCreative, or will be at HowToGetCreative.com. They're all done. I'm just waiting for the technical department to have a chance to do his machinations. Some other things that I've been doing. I just thought I would show you these because I just think they're too much fun. We've done some of these on past live streams. These little people started as inspiration from class with Carla Sondheim, and I highly recommend her classes. The class was Faces 101, but I call them goofy relatives or found relatives. They're just little cartoon characters. And then sometimes, you can just put blobs of watercolor down on a piece of paper and then see what's in the blob, right? So sometimes they look like animals to me, and, you know, then if they look like these started out with a head and a neck and a part of the shoulder area. So, you know, those started that way. And I have lots and lots and lots of those. So when I don't know what else to do with myself, I will just sit and create a family. We can talk about family, but we won't, right? Those of you that have read my book, Normal Doesn't Live Here Anymore, will understand what I'm talking about. But these are some of my little crazy people that I do. And I do them in all different sizes. They're watercolor and pens. And this one, if I can ever figure out how I closed it, they're watercolor, and then the detail is done with usually with felt tip pens like a micron pen or a gel pen. I'll tell you what, I didn't want to get into this one apparently because I tied it closed to the point that I can't figure out how I did it. Here we go. It's my book. I did it. I should be able to undo it, right? So then if I can't figure out what else to do, then I'll do little bitty things, you know. And these are all blob things that I just slopped some watercolor down and then just, you know, see what's there. See what's in there. And then on this side, more of the little relatives. So you can pretty much tell they all came from the same family because they all have some characteristics that are similar, right? Well, that's not enough. And so I decided, oh, here's another one. That's not enough. So I decided to take some of those images and turn them into fabric. And this was actually the last VIP class that we did, but I just thought I'd give you a quick look at what we did. So the VIP members got their private class, which is once a month. I showed them how to do some of the relatives, and then how to turn things from a design like this into fabric. So there's that one. And we have another one here somewhere. Here she is. And so this one, this little illustration became this one. So these are done in fabric. And then I turned this guy, which is this one, turned him into a little fabric. It's a little bigger than an ATC size, but I don't know. They're just really fun. Okay, so of course that's not enough. And so I created a whole family tree. So this is my family tree, and I won't make any other comments than that, right? Okay, so here is, and they don't have names, but this is one of those things that can fit in that little space, you know, like beside the door, that you never really have anything to go there. And so this is the family. So that is my family tree, all based on those little watercolor, crazy, goofy, found relatives that you just find in the watercolor. But these are all done in fabric. So anyway, I just thought I would show you those. So if you're interested in those once a month type classes, that's a VIP member over at the website. One of the other things I'm thinking about doing, and we're going to get over to Seth here in just a minute. One of the things I'm thinking about doing, I've just been sort of mulling this over. So I want to know, those of you that are here in the live chat, if you were, if you'd be interested in this. I was thinking about doing a podcast, which is just, you know, sort of it's a podcast vlog, you know, /vlog. I think of a vlog as somebody that talks about a lot of their personal life and stuff, which I don't do. But the podcast idea is kind of like giving you a little bit of a look about the process of what I'm doing and, kind of projects I'm working on and things going on behind the scenes. So anyway, if you're interested in that, it would be a video podcast, would not be audio. So if you're interested in that, you might make a note of that or send, put a comment with the video after we're all done. If you'll put it in the comment section, that would be great. If you think that's a good idea. It's only something I'm sort of thinking about. Like I need something else to do. Shoot me. So one of the other things that I have, that I have a love affair. Any of you that have been hanging around me for any length of time know that I have a love affair with books. Claus Man's in the chat. He can attest to that because there are piles of books and bookshelves and stacks of books. And when the books line the bookshelves and then I don't have any more room in the bookshelf, then they get stuck on top of the books because I love books. Okay? I love books. And now I have fallen in love with old, shabby, falling apart books. This one happens to be the one that I have that's in the best shape. This was actually a gift from someone. It came in some Happy Mail. And this book is in the best shape of all of them. I haven't done anything to it yet. And it is, there's nothing in it. It is just clean and pristine and, there's nothing in it. So I haven't been able to bring myself to actually use it. But it's a stitched book and it's really an interesting size and shape. So I just love that. Well, I found this one. And this one came from a place that we were helping clean out some of the, the belongings and so forth. And this one had clearly fallen apart, and so it's been repaired with small book rings. And it had a picture in it, and it has a lot of well-used pages in it. Okay. And lots and lots of calculations and keeping track of money and so forth. Now this particular one was from back in the 70s. There's some blank pages. There's some, articles stuck in the back of it. There were some addendums, attached into it and so forth. But it clearly had fallen apart, so they'd punched it and put it back together with little tiny book rings. But this one was from the 70s, and it seems like it would be a lot older than that, but anyway, and I love the covers on it, right? And this is the one that I bought. I didn't buy it. This was from a different place that we were helping clean out. And this was already on it. It's from 1939. And this was actually a ledger that has been very well used. It's falling apart, so I've put a temporary cloth tape on the edge to help hold it together. And I decided to turn this into an art journal. So I'm going to give you a quick look through this. And this is another series that I'm doing on the website, which is currently going up. Every week there is another page going up on the website. So I thought I would just give you a quick look through. And what's happening, or what I'm doing with this, is I'm just, those of you that have been watching me for a long time, I used to do streams late at night, and I would do something creative while I would stream. Well, this kind of is replacing that because I'm not streaming as much as I did. So what I'm doing is these are all late night things. And so I'm turning on the camera, grabbing some art supplies, and then just creating something in this old ledger, which it's fragile. And so I'm having to learn how to work with the paper and so forth, and turning it into an art journal. So I'm going to give you just a really quick look through them, and then we're going to get on with the show. So there is one. Here's another one. So again, these are just a real quick look through. Very, very fragile paper. And it's even right in here has come apart a little bit. So I just stuck a piece of tape on it after it was all done just to help keep it together. Here's another one. And another one. So these are all, and what's cool about this is the first part of this is all indexed with the letters, you know, the alphabetical index. And some places you can see some of the writing coming through, some places not. But I'm leaving the tabbed sections all intact. So I'm working in straight through this tabbed section, and then I have removed pages to make some more room in the journal. So these are all different processes, all different art supplies. It's kind of whatever's around me, and you know, whatever strikes my fancy. So these are all happening over at HowToGetCreative.com. So this, you can see the pages are, these two pages are prepped. But just to give you a look at some of the rest of it, and I've photographed many, many of these pages so that I have those as photographs that can be printed out and used for other things, plus some of the pages that I've ripped out of it. So anyway, I just want to give you a look at that so you can see what I've been working on and some things that you could take a look at on the website also. All right, that takes care of that. Show and share, all that stuff's all done. So, all right. Ian wants to know if I've tried the new Go Live on YouTube. No, I have not. I have not done that. I'm not familiar with that, honestly. I'll have to do some checking on that. Okay. So what we're going to do now is we're going to talk to somebody that I have come to, well, I admired him before, but I have had a lot of fun getting to know him. When we were at Creativation in, when was that? January. I can't believe that I am. He's a designer. He's an author of 2 books. He has lots of workshop videos out. I think there's like at least 8, maybe more. And then he does live workshops. He does live workshops around the world. And you guys are having trouble? You lost me for a minute? Okay, well, it's we're just going to keep going. How's that? Because I'm not showing that we have any problems, so. I'm not showing that we have any issue going on. Okay, so we're going on. Pressing forward. So Seth Apter is going to be here with me. He has come out with a new, in conjunction with Emerald Creek, he's got a new product out called Baked Textures, or Baked Texture. I'm not sure which, if it's plural or singular. We're going to ask him about that. He has paints with Paper Artsy. He has stencils with Stencil Girl products. And he has stamps with Impression Obsession. So those are the things I'm familiar with. So we're going to get Seth right here. So hang on one second. Now, we got to make the magic happen, people. So let's see if we can do it, okay? Hold on. Got to get the right mouse to do the right thing. Okay. Wish me luck, people. Wish me luck. That was not the right thing. Okay, whoops. Hang on. Be right there. Okay. Magic happen, people. Okay, Seth, are you there?
I am here. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. That's great. Welcome to Seth Apter. Hang on yep, there we go.
I can't see you, but I can hear you.
Okay. 1 minute. Barb has to make the magic happen.
Okay. Hey, everybody. There, now I see you.
Ta-da!
Okay, and you can see me?
You are perfect. I see and hear you. Okay, so now are you able to see the chat in the YouTube chat?
I have the YouTube on as well.
Okay, cool.
Paused.
Okay.
Hey, everybody.
So this is Seth Apter, everyone. Welcome him. We have a great group here to chat with you today, and you need to correct me if I said anything that was not correct earlier about when I introduced you.
No, everything I heard was right on.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you live in New York City, correct?
That's true. That's correct.
Yep. And you don't have a car, so you walk every place, and you get to find wonderful stuff for your art wherever you go, I understand.
That's very true. You do walk a lot in New York because it's really the only way to get around unless you're on the subway or the bus. And I don't have a car.
It's probably pretty fast to walk, actually, as long as you're not going like miles and miles, right?
Yeah, you can walk faster than the buses. Yeah, for sure.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
And there's a lot of garbage here. So
fodder.
Yes, exactly.
So is it really garbage?
Oh, that's true. One man's trash is another man's treasure.
Yeah, yeah.
So true.
So, okay, we're just going to jump into the thing everybody wants to know about, and that is baked texture. Is it texture or textures?
Baked texture.
Baked texture. Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
So, tell us about it.
Well, I have used embossing powders for a long time, for many, many years, and I've used them like they were meant to be used the original way with stamping, embossing pads. But I started a while back just to use them a little bit more oriented toward mixed media. So I'd use them to create texture and just some depth and definition on journal pages and on artworks. And I just got in my head that I wanted them to be more popular than they seemed to be. Mm. It felt like, there was a time when they were everywhere, and then I just didn't see as many people using it. So it just happened that while I had that thought in mind, I connected with Emerald Creek. Mm-hmm. Emerald Creek is a crafting company in Canada. Mm-hmm. And they just shared with me some of their powders. It actually happened just over a year ago at the Creativation show in 2017, and I immediately fell in love with them. Hey, everybody! I immediately fell in love with them, and I just couldn't get enough of them. The powders that Kim Evans, who's the mastermind behind the company, were just different. They were unique. They were artisan. They were textured. They were just amazing. And she and I just connected, and I said to her and she said to me, we got to get together and do something here.
So you've been working on the baked texture for a year? Is that roughly correct, or longer than a year?
I would say less than. I would probably say from beginning to end was probably about 7 or 8 months.
Oh, okay.
Of development. Mm-hmm. There was a few months where I was just playing with them, and then when we finally connected and said, let's do this together.
Okay. And how many colors do you have now?
The first release, which came out in January, was seven different flavors.
7 flavors. Yeah, and can you run down the list or tell us some of the names?
Sure. I think probably what has become the most popular is the vintage Beeswax. Mm-hmm. Of course, I just happen to have them right here.
Hey, so, excellent.
I can kind of show you.
Cool.
Let's see. Let's see if I can do this without pouring too much on my computer. Yeah. Right? Yeah. So this is the vintage Beeswax. And then there is Ancient Amber. We'll see if I can... You let me know if you can see that well enough.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Now that's got some extra stuff in it, right?
Everything has extra stuff in it, yeah. Ah. That's absolutely true. Could you give me one second?
But they're different from one to another, right?
Yes, they are.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
Technical glitch?
Sure.
Be right back.
Sure. So if you guys have questions for Seth, if you will put them in the chat in all caps, it'll make it a little easier for me to see. The chat's really flying by, and so I can't guarantee that I'll see the question. If I don't answer it, do it again, put it in again, and I'll get it at some point, I hope, okay? Okay.
All right, I'm back.
Okay.
So, yeah, they're all created with multiple inclusions and multiple powders.
Okay.
So none of them are just a single powder. So this one is patina oxide.
Oh, wow.
Which is, there's some blues, some greens, some coppers, and some clear crystals.
That's yummy.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites. This one's called Rocky Road. And I don't know if you can see closely, but it's not only got the powders, but it has kind of crushed up rocks and pebbles and crystals. And
so let me ask you a question about that. Since you've got stuff that's included in it that's not just the embossing powder, when the embossing powder melts, then it traps all that extra stuff. Is that how it works?
That's correct. So,
okay.
For example, the Rocky Road is extremely textural. So all those little sort of pebbly bits, chocolate chips, yeah, exactly. All the little pebbly bits, they get melted within the surface so that when it's melted, you get the embedded chunks.
Okay.
And then in H and Amber, the goal for these little black bits is just like you'd see with a real amber. You get elements trapped inside.
Okay.
And that's how it works.
But those extra elements are other materials, so they don't melt, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yep. And there's many, many different types of other materials. This one's called Dirty Sand. And you can see what that looks like. This one melts like sandpaper. It's extremely rough. And what we really wanted to do is create sort of different textures and different surfaces for them all.
And what was that one called? The one that was like sandpaper?
Dirty Sand.
Dirty Sand.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if you look closely at this one, I don't know if it's obvious on there with the lights, but there's just maybe 4 or 5 different layers of powders mixed in there.
That's cool. We had a question in the chat about the availability of these in the UK. Do you know if they're available there yet?
No, they're definitely available in the UK. There are maybe 4 or 5 different sites that do sell them.
Okay.
So the best thing to do just to find out where they're available throughout the world, because they are selling in many, many different places, would be to go to emeraldcreek.org. That's their site. And then you can click on all the different shops and all the different online stores that sell them. They're not being sold. They are being sold at 1 or 2 places in the Netherlands. I see this in the chat. They're not being carried by Michaels. We're aiming more for the independents.
Okay.
So this is really only limited to independent shops,
as opposed to the big retailers and big box stores and stuff.
Yeah, no big box shops at all.
Okay.
This one's called Deep Sea. Deep Sea is blues and greens and turquoises with some clear color crystals in it. I
bet that is stunning. Woo! Yum.
Yum. That's why I say flavors. And then the one that people are describing as very different and sort of weird is the chunky rust. And I wish you could feel this, because this, it's soft and fluffy. You actually, if you look at my finger, can you see the sort of the
fuzz? It's like fuzz over your finger. Yeah.
So it's extremely unique. And the goal was really to create powders that were a little bit different than the ones on the market. And some of them are translucent so that you can see through. Some of them are opaque. Some of them are, they dry rough and textural. Some of them dry smooth like ice. Some of them are very shiny. Some of them are more matte. Our goal was really to create quite a variety.
So to know which one is going to have which result, how do you find that out? Is there information on the website?
There's information on the website, both Emerald Creek and then also mine. You can see them all at SethApter.com.
Okay.
And in the description, it'll describe the effects.
Okay. And then also, you guys, make sure that you go to Seth's. Your name is one of the most tongue-twisting names for me for some reason. So when I stumble over your name, please forgive me. Go to Seth's blog, which is, okay, I had it written down here. What is it? The Altered Page?
The Altered Page.
The Altered Page. Yeah. So thealteredpage.blogspot.com. That is his blog. And Seth is one of the people who keeps his blog up to date. And it's, you may post on there several times a week, I've noticed.
Yeah,
and
usually at least 3, sometimes more.
That is, I bow down to you because that's just the
I'm
blog.
A dinosaur.
The blog takes me hours to update posts and stuff. I make myself do it. But on your blog right now, the article that I saw, that I checked just earlier, was about an online magazine that had featured the baked texture. Is that?
Yes, there's been several online magazines that have shown projects using the baked textures. Mm-hmm. And so, yes, if you go to my blog, you will see a lot of information about using them. I do these posts called The Bakery, and each one sort of highlights some different projects that other people have done. Everybody has trouble saying my name, Pavla. It's not just foreigners. Yeah.
That's okay. I can't say Pavla's name right either.
Okay.
So,
and
one other thing
wants to know when I'm coming out to Texas. Yeah. I have taught there before, and I do plan on coming back. 2018 is full. Maybe 2019. Oh,
that's cool. So Carla, who's Caged Fish, said, so when you buy them, in the description, you'll know if they're opaque or translucent or whatever, correct? In your description on... Yeah.
But yeah, there's definitely information. But I will tell you right off the bat, if you're listening, that the vintage beeswax is the one that's fully translucent. It's the only one that's fully translucent. Okay. And I'll talk about it in a minute, what that means. Okay. And then the deep sea is semi-translucent. So what's going to happen with the deep sea is that if you put this on a bluish background, you're going to have the blues from the deep sea come out. If you put it on a yellow or a greenish background, you're going to get more of the green tint. But you're not going to be able to see completely through it. It just shades it. The rest of them are mostly opaque. Okay. Mostly.
Okay. It's like anything else. You just need to get your hands on them, and you have to play. Not worry about the result. You need to just play, right?
Yes, definitely. If you just take out your journal and just slap some on, you'll see right away how they work. What I will say is that if you go to my blog or if you go to the Emerald Creek site, that there's just a lot of information. Okay. So there are a series of videos that I've linked to. I've done as well, but many that other people have done that I've linked to that literally take you through step by step of each one of these on black cardstock, on white cardstock, over collage, over craft color. So you see the difference. And so if you just watch one or two of those videos, they're really quite well done by some other people, you'll see the effects that you can get.
Yeah, and I think it's fun to hear other people's experience with the products besides the designer creator of it. It's just it just gives you a different perspective, because they come at it from using different kinds of products probably than you do, and so you'll get to see a broad range of results. So I think it's great to always see different people and how they use things. So
it's really exciting having products and then seeing people use them. It's something that, no matter how many times I see it always just gets me quite excited.
Do you find that there are things that people come up with that you go, I never would have thought of that?
All the time. All the time. Yeah. All the time.
So how do you make these things work? I mean, you can't just dump them on a piece of paper and put heat on them, right? How do you make them work?
Okay, well, you can approach them some different ways. You can use them traditionally. Traditionally would basically be taking an embossing pad. An embossing pad is like an ink pad, except rather than having ink, it has an adhesive to it. And there are many out on the many different lines, companies that have them. And you use them either by just literally taking your stamp, putting it in an ink pad and stamping, or you can take your ink pad and just put it directly, the embossing pad, and put it directly onto the surface you're working on. And then that acts as an adhesive, and then you pour these out.
So if you want like a bigger area on your page or your artwork, then you're going to maybe take the pad and directly apply it, so you get a bigger swath of the ink, the sticky ink.
I'll give you a couple examples.
Okay, cool.
So this piece here it basically highlights the vintage beeswax. The idea behind the vintage beeswax is that it is a faux encaustic look. And so what you do is you collage underneath it, or paint, or whatever elements you want. And then when you take your pad, your embossing pad, you simply would press the pad just directly on top of the entire page, and then you pour out the vintage beeswax. And then you use a heat gun and you melt it. And because it's translucent, you see everything underneath, but it adds this nice, warm, rich honey tone. And when you add 2 or 3 layers to it, you begin to get a surface that's quite encaustic-like.
Kind of almost a glass.
A glassy
look.
Surface.
Yeah.
The thing about encaustics is, if you do encaustics, you know that it's actually a very matte surface. There is no sheen at all.
Right.
So basically what you would do is, after you finish this, you just layer a couple layers of matte medium over it, and it completely takes out the shine, but it leaves you the waxy surface.
So the question in the chat was, is the embossing ink anything like gilding size? Do you like the sizing product that you put down before you put like gold leaf? I think that's what he's talking about. You can,
yeah, it would work the same way.
Okay.
So you can absolutely use it. So in addition to using the embossing ink from a pad, I've used matte medium, I've used a glue stick. Really anything that's sticky, you just need to be aware. So for example, if you use matte medium, then your medium you're using is a little thicker. And so when you heat it, it often burns and bubbles. Now, I love
cool.
Yeah.
that makes my mouth start watering a little bit.
It's a bonus.
Yeah.
But not everybody likes that look.
Yeah.
So you have to be clear. And then a lot of people will also use glycerin and just paint glycerin, brush glycerin on, and that will serve it as well. So anything that's sticky.
Yeah.
The thing about these powders that's really interesting is that you can use them unmelted. So for example, the rust, chunky rust, it has this really beautiful sort of paprika color almost, with a lot of inclusions. When you heat this, it darkens a bit. And so if you want to maintain this color, you can use this, pour it on. You can take a dry brush and kind of brush it off, and what will stay will stay.
Okay.
The other thing you can do with a lot of these powders is, I call it getting half-baked, is where you can heat them before they fully melt, and they look actually quite different.
Okay.
Will the Ranger heat gun work? Yes. The Ranger heat gun takes a lot longer, but it absolutely will work. I see that question from Linda.
Yeah, it does take longer, but it doesn't put out the volume of air that an embossing gun does too. So it's a different type of heat source. And it's like anything else. You know, it's really easy for us to say, I like this and I don't like that. And this thing is good and that thing is bad. And, you know, I really get a little... This is where I can get on my high horse very easily, because it's not that something is good and something that's bad. They are different from each other.
Very true.
Now, that's the end of my lecture. Just saying.
With you.
Just saying. I don't believe in assigning labels to products and tools and whatever. I mean, I have a studio. I have 2 rooms full of stuff and products and whatever. And if I'm using a tool in one way, in one application, it might not work. But the same tool is the perfect thing to use in a different application. So if one thing that you have doesn't work, see if you have something else that'll work. Or if you can, like in the Ranger heat tool, just, you know, yeah, it doesn't melt the embossing powder very quickly. But if you're persistent, you can get a great look with it. You can get a great effect. How big a hurry are you in, you know? So
Sure.
You just kind of have to balance things out. That's my opinion. So anyway, okay, so did we make it through all your colors of baked textures?
Yeah, I think I hit all 7 or touched on all 7.
Now, I have one question for you about the beeswax one.
Sure.
Tell me the exact name of it again?
Oh, that's the vintage beeswax.
Vintage beeswax.
Yeah.
Because it kind of puts that kind of golden
Yes.
glow with the translucent, or almost I'd say it's almost transparent, but just from watching.
I would say it is definitely transparent.
Okay.
Yes.
So that one, I noticed it's the same size pot as all the rest of them. It seems like that one that you're going to use, you're going to have to use multiple layers in order to get that really smooth surface. I could be wrong, but that's what I'm thinking. And so I'm wondering if that one's going to be available in larger sizes. Because I saw somebody in the chat that said she wanted a gallon of it. I think that might be going overboard, but...
Well, first of all, you're absolutely right. When you use one layer of this, you get a little bit of a almost pitted textural feel, which is beautiful. But if you want that smooth surface, you do need to use 2 or 3. I've seen people use 4. For me, 2 or 3 tends to be enough. And so you will go through this faster. And so I'm not sure what I'm at liberty to say here, but I'll say it anyway. There will very soon be a larger size coming out.
Okay, that's pretty much where I thought that one was going to, where that was going to head.
People are coming to my shop and ordering 6 and 7 of these at a time, so soon you won't have to.
Yeah, that's great. That's great.
Yeah. And it's going to be about this big.
So it might be a gallon.
It might be a gallon, yeah.
That's great. I think that is, well, anytime you bring out something that is kind of a new thing to the market, you have to figure out what people want, and how people are using it before
Correct.
you know how to package it. This is a completely different thing, but my dad was a professor at the university here, and anytime they would build a new building, they would always put in the sidewalks, trying to direct the students the way they wanted the traffic to go. And then in a few years later, they would rip out most of those sidewalks and they'd put the sidewalks where the students were actually walking, because that's where they were going to go. That's where they were walking. And so my dad's opinion always was that they should just not put sidewalks in when they built one of these new massive complexes. See where the students were going to walk, and then put them in afterwards. Save everybody a lot of extra expense. You have to wait and see what the people want.
Sure.
So.
If you put in grass, by the time you're ready to go, there'll be the path already outlined.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like that, because you just, even though you put a lot of thought into how you think people are going to use things, because this is your experience, and it's kind of your brainchild and all of that, you still kind of have to see to wait and see, so I think that's really cool. What's the second most popular color?
I would say the second most popular is the patina oxide. The patina oxide is, there had been somebody there that nobody wants to see.
Yeah, hang on.
Chat.
I'm trying to get a hold of him.
All right, I think it's been deleted.
Oh, Clausman took care of it. Okay, we're good.
Okay. Thank you. So this one is, again, sort of greens and blues, and it has these copper and clear crystal elements to it. Mm-hmm. So I have a piece here that I've made, which has a little bit of that in it as well. This background was already sort of naturally patinaed, and I added more of the green patina And the ladder itself is a combination of the chunky rust and the rocky road. So you get a little bit of sense of what that's like.
Oh, that's great.
And then if you look back on this piece, one of the nice things about this is that the vintage beeswax you can use to embed objects. So it serves as a glue. So when the wax, when the embossing powder is hot, you basically place your objects in and embed them. And then once metal is hot, then you don't even need any kind of adhesive. If it's hot enough and the metal will stay hot for quite a while, the powders will just stick. And so I've drizzled some powders over here. So on there you can see some of the patina oxide.
So just to make sure I understand, the metal gets hot and you put the powder on it and then melt it and it just sticks to the metal. You don't have to actually add the, pardon me, the embossing fluid to it?
Correct.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's quite amazing. Now, if you want to go quite thick, then you'd want to add more.
Okay.
And so sometimes, especially with some of the chunkier ones, you'd want to build up texture. And so then you can add it while one layer is wet. If you have a hot, wet layer of embossing powder, you can just sprinkle more powder in, and it will stick. But typically, if you really want it thick and dimensional, say for a background, then you would want to add layers and layers with the embossing ink in between.
So basically it goes back to that whole concept of you just need to get your hands on something and line up some different things to do with it, maybe wood and paper and cardboard and whatever.
Yeah.
And then just start playing. And
it's really about playing.
Yeah. And here's the thing, if you want to keep track of what you did so you can repeat it, take some notes while you're doing that.
Right, exactly. Make your journal page, make some notes. Now, there's been some questions about this, so I want to say that this works on paper, it works on wood, it works on glass, it works on metal, it works on fabric. Someone asked if it works on leather. I always tell people that unless I've done something or I know for sure, I never say definitely, but I would imagine, given that it works on fabric and these other materials, that it would work on leather, and they really don't flake off.
Even on fabric, you don't have a problem with it. That's amazing.
No. I heard you talking about at some point, and maybe it was in a different chat where you were talking about fabric and like you wouldn't wash mixed media fabric.
Right,
now,
that's me.
I haven't put this on a fabric and put it through the machine because that's just not how I would use it.
Right.
So that's not what I'm saying. But when I use little bits of fabric on my mixed media pieces, this will stay on it. It has a lot of flexibility. So generally speaking, it doesn't crack.
Oh, wow.
You can die cut it. It's a pretty amazing product.
That's great. That's cool.
Yes, you could put it on your basement ceiling. That is true. Shrink the leather a bit. That's a good thing to know.
Oh, that's great. Cool.
Thank you, Carol.
May shrink the leather a little bit. Okay. Yeah. Oh, that's great. That's so cool. You've got me off on a tangent. Now I'm thinking, I'm anxious to get my hands on the powders, and now I'm off in a whole different direction in my head, not just on the paper and the journals and canvas and that kind of thing, but now the fabric. I never would have thought of using it on fabric. That's really, that's, yeah. Okay, I got to get back to what we're doing. Because, I don't know. Does that ever happen to you where you just all of a sudden somebody says one thing and you just like, your brain just goes, oh, I could do this and this and this.
All the time. That's actually usually what happens when I'm making something. I'm working on a layer thinking I'm going to do this, and then it's an hour later and I've never gotten to that because I've done this instead.
Or I'm gonna finish this one thing and then I'm going to go eat lunch. And then the next thing you know, 3 hours have passed and you're about to pass out, and it's like, what is wrong with me? It's like, oh, I missed a whole meal or two.
Yeah, exactly. That's the best when you get in the zone.
It is, isn't it?
It really is,
So what things are you working on like right now? Are you working on your own stuff, or are you working on new products, or what are you working on? That's
a good question. I get so caught up with the teaching and the product development that I find that I don't often have time just to literally sit and make art.
Yeah.
So I've done a couple things to try to remedy that. The first thing is that last month I did a 2-week residency in New Mexico.
How did that go? I heard you were going to do that. How was it?
It was incredible. It was just better than I could have expected. I went to one of my favorite places on earth in Taos. I stayed at the Mabel Dodge Lewin House, which is like my home away, become my home away from home.
Now, is it like a retreat type atmosphere there, or a college setting, or what type of setting is it?
It's Mabel Dodge Lewin House is a center that comes with this incredible history. We could do a whole show on Mabel Dodge, but basically over the years, it's become this mecca for artists. So many people have been there. Georgia O'Keeffe was there. There are just tons of people, and the people who own it now have kept it as a conference center where they have writing conferences, art conferences, and yoga retreats. And it's just an incredibly special place. And so there's a bunch of sort of older buildings, and then I got to stay in what's called Auntie's house, which is this little tiny house with 2 rooms and a kitchen that really it was a place where sort of the people who worked for Mabel would stay. And I had the use of an entire huge workshop space and just spent 2 weeks making art. And
so you were there to do art yourself, not to teach other people.
I had a 1-day class at the end, but my goal was to have a chance to just make art for myself.
So it was your own retreat.
It was my own retreat.
That's great.
Me, myself, and I. And it was a social media blackout retreat. So for the first time, I was off social media.
How did that feel?
Well, in advance of it, when I made that decision, I was freaking out. I mean, literally freaking out, but I took to it almost instantly.
You survived.
I survived. And honestly, I thought I was going to, I said to myself before I left, I'm going to pop up a couple times. I just thought there'd be too much withdrawal, but there was no desire to pop up.
So that was a self-imposed blackout.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, that's a great idea. That just sounds really good.
No, it was incredible. And so I made, what ended up happening was I made 28 pieces of art. But what I really made was I made an installation, and that's what it ended up being. I created this huge installation piece on a Kiva fireplace there, and it just sort of turned me into somebody who now wants to do sort of room-size installation art.
Oh wow! So that was a piece or something that you did that was on site and it's living there now. Is that right?
No, temporary. It left when I left.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So. And so that was one way that I've focused on making art. But the other way I've focused on making art, and I have a few here, is that I've been doing what I call an art deck, which is just basically 52 small pieces of art that I just sort of work on backgrounds and then let them sit there, and then I just play. And I don't think about...
Is that based on your workshop, the 52...
No, I do the 52 card pickup, totally different.
Okay.
This is just basically... can you varnish over the powders? Yes. Once the powders are melted, I saw that question come up a few times. You can absolutely do that. It's a little different if you don't melt the powders and they stay flaky. Then the varnish and anything you put over it, like matte medium, kind of shifts it. But once they're melted, you can absolutely varnish. So this art deck, this is just playing. So there's no effort to use any of my products. There's no effort to do it for a company. It's just play. So they tend to be just kind of sort of messy and sort of organic.
Are they all the same shape and size?
No, they're all different shapes and size. Well, they're all squares or rectangles, but they're all different sizes. And I just use different elements and just as a way to really let loose a little bit. And so every time I do it, I do maybe 10 or 12. And then it's maybe a month before I can do them again. And then the next 10 or 12 I do, they look totally different.
Now, I know you work in a lot of layers in what you do. So just pick one of those and give us an idea of how many layers you might have on one of those pieces. Do you have any idea?
20 or 30 maybe.
Okay. That was what I was going to think.
I'll start with gesso, and then usually one layer of gesso. Thanks, Barbara. Thanks, Patricia. And then I will add like lots of layers of paint, and then I'll do some stamping, and then I'll add some ink. Or either pour some ink or I'll rub some ink, and then I'll add some more paint. So, by the time I've just done the background, maybe there could be 25 or 30. And then like this little guy here, this is gesso and paint and ink and pencil and a little collage. There's a lot.
Your layers, just what I observed when I saw you at Creativation, most of your layers are fairly or pretty thin, I would say. Is that
That's
accurate?
True. It's quite funny because I think I'm sort of known for texture, and there is a lot of texture in my work, but a lot of what I do is flat. It's smooth. People there's so many layers, and maybe there's a little bit of texture, but it's actually quite non-dimensional. So
it's really more of a visual texture.
Yes.
Then it is maybe what we would think of as a tactile type texture.
Correct. So now like this one, I don't know if that looks textural, and there's some fabric on it. Some of these have stitching, but really it's quite smooth.
Now, are you using a sewing machine and doing the stitching?
Well, here's an example of the stitching. You can see that element right there. That's all hand done. So I bought my first sewing machine about a year ago, and it is still in the box. Okay. I bought it to work on paper, and I promise that I will, but I just, I just don't have time, and B, I'm a little daunted by the whole thing because I don't have the person who sold it to me standing over me telling me how to do it.
Yeah.
Carla, to answer your question, I am bringing out more colors in the chalk paints. I have a line of paints with Paper Artsy. They're chalk acrylics, and I have now 16 colors. There will be a full line. I think we're aiming for something like 38 colors in the end. So later this year, you'll see more colors come out.
Oh, that's great. And I've not worked with the Paper Artsy paint yet either, and so I'm really looking forward to
I need to mail you a care package.
No, I ordered some stuff from you just whenever
that's right, yeah.
So whenever it works, hey, we're good. We're good. I'm not, believe me, I've got plenty to keep me busy until it shows
Something tells me that's true.
Yeah. So you've been working on your cards, the backgrounds, and do you use those as a basis for bigger work then?
No, I'm not. I don't tend to do anything like that.
Okay.
Sometimes it gives me an idea, but typically, first of all, I typically work small, so this is going to be what it's going to be.
Okay.
But also, I do not. For me, the way I work, I never have an idea of what I'm going to do or where it's going to go, because with mixed media, for me, the layer basically tells me what to do.
Yeah.
So anytime I've ever had in mind a goal, I've been endlessly frustrated. So the idea of saying, okay, I'm going to make this, and then I'm going to make this on a large 12 by 12 or 2 foot by 2 foot, I would end up throwing it out. It just would never, ever look like it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It just will never look like it.
And is your substrate the same on all of those little pieces, or is it different?
In this case, these are all on watercolor paper. So you can see the back. So this is like a plain back, but sometimes this is a back that's not, this is actually what it is, but I painted on the back. So I've used it. I just throw it in a drawer and then take it out every so often. So do you work with like a heavy watercolor paper? Like a 300? I work with usually 140-pound watercolor paper. Okay. But I do have a favorite paper that I use. It's from a company called Canson, and it's called Canva paper, like canvas without the S, and it has kind of a linen canvas texture to it. And it's something that I've been pretty obsessed with for the last couple of years. Yeah, I know that. Isn't that the same paper that you create a lot of with the mono printing?
Yeah.
Yes, 100%.
It's that kind of thing that you're doing, right? To get that, you paint on the canvas paper and then print with it.
Yes.
Kind of thing.
So here's a blank. Again, I don't know with the light here if you can see the texture at all in this. But it's got a little bit of a linen-like surface. Yeah,
just barely.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite things that that I tried from. Actually, that came from one of your. I think it was from this workshop.
Oh, the DVDs, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that was what I had, and I didn't even have that brand of paper. I had another canvas paper that in my stuff, and I thought, I really want to do this. I don't know if it'll work, but I'm going to try it. And I love that effect. I mean, I had never built up. I did this piece. This thing was what I did on the stream from the last time we were together, and then this was the one I did beforehand, but using the same kinds of thing in the background, which and that, I guess my point to the audience is that you don't have to, if you don't have access to Seth in a live class setting, don't be afraid to work with his, get the DVD workshops like this and play with the techniques. You're never going to be Seth. I'm never going to be Seth. I don't want to be Seth. Seth needs to do Seth. I need to do Barb. But it's always great to incorporate someone else's technique. And I never would have thought of that mono printing using that textured paper like that. And I mean, I'm looking at them thinking, okay, now I got to get out the duck cloth and I got to get the burlap and all these different textural things that I have behind the door back here where the sewing studio part of it is, and and do that same thing and see what it'll do. And in the process, I painted the paper.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
When I teach, one of my goals in teaching is to teach people how to create without thinking, because I really believe that with mixed media, when you think too much, you're sunk.
Yeah.
When you get caught in your head, your creativity dies. You start second guessing yourself. You start hating what you're doing. You don't think it's as good. Yeah. It doesn't go where you want. So a lot of the techniques, including that monoprint, develop because I try to find ways to create without thinking, to take any control away from it. Yeah.
And so you take the control away from yourself, and then when you're in a teaching setting, you're taking control away from your students, and then it gets a little dicey because some of them just aren't very comfortable with that giving up. Well, I'm not real comfortable with giving up that control. Right. I kind of want to know the beginning, middle, and end. And every time about the beginning and the middle, and then invariably it will go, oh no, I'm going to go this direction, and it's never going to go where I wanted to. And it's always better. It's always better. Now, when
you can just let go and give in, you can find out that that's where the magic happens. Care, heart, overthink. Yes. Okay. So, and which is the DVD? I believe, my DVDs, I believe the one that shows the mono printing, there's two of them. There is the one that has the collage.
This one?
Top 10 Collage Principles. And then one of the two newer DVDs, one of them has it as well. But of course, I'm blanking on which one, which doesn't help you much.
Now, what company are the newer DVDs with? The same?
If you go to, they're all with F&W Media, Northlight Media.
Okay.
So if you go to Artist Network, they're all available as downloads, either streaming or downloadable videos. And in fact, many of the DVDs are no longer available as DVDs. But when you go to, again, it's Artist Network TV, I believe, you can get a preview of all of them, and they also describe them, and they tell you which techniques are in which one.
And you've never asked me to say any of this that I am saying, so this is totally unsolicited, but I really like the way that you present your information, I think the pacing is good. And your explanations are great. I think it's fun too. I don't know if the format's the same on the later ones, but the ones that I watched here, you had somebody with you, and so you were each working on the similar process. It was almost like you were teaching her and she was coming up with things, but they were similar to yours, but they weren't identical. And it was fun to see someone else, come up, how they interpreted what you were saying. I really like that format, but I like the pacing of it because it's not so rushed. You do give all the details, and so anyway, I'm a fan.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. And the company that I work with, they do it that way where there's a student. Okay. And it's kind of like our conversation. You and I, just so everyone out there knows, you and I connected earlier and we were like, what should we talk about? Mm-hmm. And other than the fact that we said we talk about the new big textures, we both said, let's just wing it. Yeah. And in a funny way, that's exactly what happens in the videos. Okay. Now, obviously, I need to be prepared. I'm teaching. Right. But we have a student there, and she doesn't know what I'm going to do. Mm-hmm. And so it's just spontaneous. So it's as if, you who are watching the video are on the video taking the class. That's really interesting. I never thought about the fact that she would not know what you were doing or where you were headed. So there's a real honesty there. Game. Yeah. She had to be, and on camera. Exactly. So I've got another question for you. Sure. So we kind of talked about some of your favorite things that you're doing, but if you had, you may have already answered this, your favorite place to visit right now at this point in your life, where is that? Is that Taos or is it someplace else? I think I remember last time we were on, you asked me like some of my favorite products, and I said I need to like give you more than one answer. Mm-hmm. So I'll probably give you a couple answers to this. I think Taos would probably be one of my favorite places. It's a place that I discovered maybe 3 or 4 years ago, and I go there either once or twice a year. Mm-hmm. I've been doing an annual retreat. This last year I did it twice with another artist. Her name is Roxanne Evans Stout, and we do a 5-day retreat at Mabel Dodge Lewin House. It's called Case of Curiosities, and it's creating this box filled with just endless small projects. So other people come and take that with you then, right? Yes. Okay. Yes, that's an open retreat. Okay. The next time we're doing it is 2019. But there's something about the place, the pueblo there, the people, mm-hmm. Everything. It's just a magical, magical place, and I just feel so at home there. Do you think that you would, I know I'm sidetracking you a little bit, but do you think that you would ever have the desire to move there and be there permanently, or do you like having it as the place to go, to get away? Well, it's so funny you say that because, I live in New York City, and I've lived in New York City now for, I don't know, maybe 35 years, mm-hmm. and it's so home. And I always say the only way I'm leaving New York is in a box. And you know what kind of box I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. Yes. So, and there's plenty of places I travel to. So when I was in Taos, just having the best time on this retreat, I was driving down the road, and I just sort of cocked my head and I said, could I live here? Mm. That thought just doesn't come to my mind much. Yeah. Now, in reality, the answer is probably no, if only because from a practical standpoint, I teach and travel so much. And in order to get to an airport, it's like a 2-hour drive, 2.5-hour drive to Albuquerque. Right. So realistically, I couldn't, but I'm connected to it that much. So that was your one place. Where did you have another place? Well, I've been to Italy twice, and I haven't been to Italy now in about 10 years or so. But I fell head over heels in love with Italy, and I have not seen it all. And it's a place that I absolutely want to go back to. I want to go back to it now that I'm sort of further in my career as an artist. Mm-hmm. I think I would experience it and see it somewhat differently. Mm-hmm. And there was nothing I didn't love about it. And so I don't have it on. Well, actually, I may go there at some point to teach, but it's not on my list for upcoming. But that's definitely a place that I have an urge to go back to.
So are those your top two favorite places, Taos and Italy, you would say, right?
Well, I guess, yeah. I mean, I'd have to throw New York City in there. I mean, I live in New York, so that's...
Yeah, but the second part of my question is, where is your favorite place to be? So places to visit and places to be, and why that place that you would choose to be. Is that New York?
I think right now, you asked me in a week, it might be different, but I think right now those two would be. Yeah, there's something incredibly special, inviting. I don't know, you've probably had this experience, I'm sure lots of people have, when you travel. Sometimes it's a place that you go to and you immediately feel at ease. There's a comfort, there's some sort of connection. And that's definitely how I feel in those two places.
Yeah. And
there's places I go to that I like, because I do teach a lot. And actually, now that I'm talking, I will add one place.
Okay.
I'm gonna add a third place. I knew this would happen, and that would be all of Australia. I'm lucky enough to be able to travel and teach to Australia. I pretty much go every year for a month in July, and to me, it's incredible. It's just an incredible place. The people, the atmosphere, the culture, the experiences I've had there with the other artists, the classes, everything.
Do you go to stores to teach there, or retreats, or what?
Mostly in the past, I have taught with two different retreat groups.
Okay.
And that will also be the case this year in July, but probably starting next year, I'm going to try to spend even more time there and also teach with some of the shops.
But you're always glad to get back home to New York City, huh?
Yeah, it's not a bad place to live.
Yeah. What is it you love about New York City so much?
The energy, the excitement, the opportunity, the art, the culture, the shops, the architecture, Central Park. I mean, there's just such a feel here that of energy and excitement. Literally, you can just walk out your door and any day be inspired by something.
That's great. I mean, to live in a place that you're inspired is it's the best. And if you live in a place where you're not inspired, you can always be inspired in your mind, because you can pick up a book, you can look online, you can talk to people. And if your surroundings don't inspire you, you just need to open your mind up, because there is inspiration absolutely everywhere. If it's not in your surroundings, just open up, and it will come to you. It's come available to you. Yeah, totally.
Thank you, Carla.
So is there, do you have anything else you want to show us or talk about? I promised I wouldn't keep you too long. So
Sure. I'm going to I'll show you a sneak peek at one of my current journals.
Yes.
And then I'm going to get on my soapbox for a second.
Which
I didn't warn you about.
That's okay.
So this is a journal. I usually have 3 or 4 or 5 different journals going at one time, and they're all very different. There's some that I never show. I don't know if people think everything that I do, I photograph, and I do a lot of that, but there's lots of kind of private things that I don't show. But this is a journal that I started in when I was teaching at in Kentucky at Ephemera Paducah store there, and it was at an event earlier in the year called the Stencil Girl and Friends. And so it's just totally visual. Is that a good location?
Yeah, that's good. Okay. Just like that.
And, my goal here was really it's a lot of stencils, but not all. It was just really to, again, create kind of freely without thinking, to get just different layers and textures. And there's no words in this, which is very atypical of me, both in terms of journals and also my art. I like a lot of words.
I do too. I always use words. That's cool.
I saw that in your journal as well. Yeah. But this has been fun, just kind of making a mess. I tend to be quite linear and sort of ordered in my work. So this is sort of one of my books to try to just break out of that a little bit. And there's just a lot of layers and a lot of texture, and I try some new products out here and things like that.
And a lot more color than I see in some of your work.
Yeah, a lot more color. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you know, sometimes with my, I've talked about this with a lot of people, that my journals tend to be different than my artwork. And you know, journals they are different. You know, you certainly can just make art in journals, but journals are often about something. And so there's definitely something about this particular journal that's leading me to this sort of freedom.
And what was the journal? Was it an old book, or was it actually an art journal?
Oh, it's Strathmore.
Strathmore, okay.
Yeah. And so this is just sort of more like a sort of play, which is why there's no words, and there's less linear approach, and there's a lot more bright color. And so I'm looking forward to, you know, filling that up. You can see from the side, it's maybe only about a third done.
Yeah. Are you still doing your I don't know if it was daily or weekly journal? Are you still doing that? That was.
So last year I did a project where I did I journaled. I had a journal entry for every single day of the year that was about my life in art and my work. And I didn't do it every day, but I would say on a Friday, go back and do the last 4 days or the last 20 days, depending upon what I missed. But that was extremely, I love it. I can grab it really quickly. There's 4 volumes.
Sure.
But what I realized is this is not something I can do every year. It's just way too time intensive.
And that there's 4 volumes?
Yeah, so this is 3 months worth.
Wow.
And basically what I discovered in doing this was this is like I felt like, oh my God, I discovered scrapbooking.
Yeah.
You know, I was never a scrapbooker per se, but that's basically what this is. And I just really loved you know, this way of kind of keeping track of what I was doing. And you can see.
I bet you will love looking back over that in time too, as you get further and further away from it. I bet you'll love looking back at it. Definitely.
One of the things I do is when I go to classes, when I teach classes, I ask the students to work on one page together. And so I have this page that the students did back and front.
What a great idea.
Which is so memorable. I get to remember all my students and you know, and remember the experience. So this is fun, but talk about labor intensive.
Yeah.
New stencils. I'll show you something really quickly. So if you haven't seen, these are my newest stencils. There are 8 circle stencils. I don't know. They came out in January, so they're not that new.
Are they 8 individual stencils?
Yes. Yeah, they're all 4x4.
4x4. Okay.
Yeah. It's always interesting for me to find out which ones are the most popular. And this one, far and away, has been the best seller. And then there is a new stencil that just came out that I don't think most people know about. It's also a circle stencil. It's a journaling stencil. So the idea is that you kind of journal in the circles within the circle.
Oh, great.
And I am working on a whole new set that are a little different for me, but they won't be out until the fall.
Cool. So
do I have a minute
time.
for my soapbox?
Yes. I'm just waiting. I'm waiting.
Okay. So I do this. I started this post on my blog called Apter's Chapters, which I've been saving that phrase for the last 50 years. And I'm finally using it, where I'm just posting these posts about things that are important to me or other artists. And I did one recently, the last one, it's probably a month or so ago, basically about respect and how important that was, and how I feel incredibly strongly about the idea that we all should work to lift each other up, and that there's more than enough to go around for everybody, and that rather than be competitive and cutthroat, or not trusting, that we should all support each other, and in doing so, or raise each other up. And then, interestingly enough, just yesterday there was this exchange on Facebook, which I won't reference the specifics, where there was some ugliness going on. And so this was not my plan to talk about this, but I do have a little bit of some people out there listening, and
sure.
I just want to highlight because it's so easy to be negative and bullying on the internet.
Yeah.
That we all need to be there for each other and to help each other and to support each other. And you support somebody supports you. It's a full win-win. And it's just really important to me. That whole concept. It eats me up when I see this negativity. And our world is actually not that negative, this community, but every once in a while it pops up. And it's very distressing to me. Yeah,
I agree. There was years ago, we took a class. My husband and I took a class, and at the close, it was a little bit along the lines of a Dale Carnegie type class, but different from that. And at the end of the class, the teacher would always close with a story. And one of the stories that she had was about a man who was traveling down a road, and he came to a gate, and there was a big city, and the person he encountered was like the gatekeeper. And the guy said, could I come into your city? And the gatekeeper said, well, what was the last place like where you came from? And he said, he says, well, it was terrible. Where I lived was absolutely awful. Everybody was mean. They would fight. They would pick on each other. They picked on me. It was just, that's why I left. It was a terrible place to be. And the gatekeeper said, well, that's what this place is too. So you probably want to keep on going and see if you can find, try the next city. And the next person that came right after that asked the same question, if he could come into the city. And the gatekeeper said, well, what was the city like that you came from? And the person said, oh, it was wonderful. The people were so wonderful. They were so nice. They were so warm. They were so genuine. I had so many friends, and I loved it. And the gatekeeper opened the gates and said, come on in, because you're going to find it's exactly like that here. And, the point is that whatever it is you're looking for and whatever it is you are determined is your world, that's what you're going to see.
Right.
So if you are going into a city, if you're going into your online space or your physical space or whatever, and you walk into that prepared to see negativity, that's what you see. And
sure.
And sometimes it does slap you in the face for sure. But I think so much of it is, if you can't get away from it, you have to decide within yourself that, I'm not going to do that, and I am going to stick up for the concept of respect. I'm a big believer in respect as well. Big believer. And I think that if people would think, and it starts with each of us, if we would just think that, okay, if this person that I disagree with were sitting in front of me, how would I react to them? It will stop some of that, silliness of pound it out and, hit send. And then you go, well, yeah, well, I released all my frustrations, but how many people did I wound in the process, so.
Right. I'm with you.
So I just, I really second that. I think that we need to live with, we don't have to agree with everything. We don't have to agree with everybody. I'm sure that you and I could sit down together just one-on-one, and we could find a lot of things that we disagree on, that we're very different on our viewpoints about or whatever. But that never enters my mind, because I would much rather find the things that I have in common with you and
sure.
with my audience and with, my family and whomever. I would much rather sit down and find those things I have in common with, and then the things that we're different about. Everybody needs to have their own. It would be a boring world if we were all the same. I mean, come on.
That it would. 100%.
Yeah.
And we don't do boring.
No. So any other soapbox things you want to chat about?
That's it for today. We'll save the next one for the next chat.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to hold you to that one. I'm going to hold you to that. Anything else you want to show us or share with us?
I think I'm good. Maybe if we do have a minute or two, I know it's 2:30.
Sure.
If anybody just wants to shoot a question, because I know there's some questions that came out that I missed.
Okay. We'll just let those questions come up.
Yeah. If anybody wants to ask any question, I'll look at the chat now and just answer directly.
Okay.
Maybe we can do that for a couple of minutes. And if nobody has a question, then I guess we'll sign off.
Yeah, and in the chat while we're waiting for questions, we have two in our chat, Janet and Eileen, that they do a show together. Janet actually is the streamer, and Eileen is her foil, and the two of them are always going at each other, they are two of the funniest humans on the planet. But everyone knows. I mean, if you don't discover it in the first 10 minutes, just keep watching. Everybody knows that it's all done in fun and good-natured teasing and that kind of thing. But, but you have to be careful with that as well. But anyway, they're saying they got to leave because we're making them feel guilty. Okay, there you go.
So I'm going to go backwards. So any new dies coming out, maybe some of you know that I designed dies for several years with Spellbinders. I'm no longer with Spellbinders as of last December, so no new dies with them. No new dies coming out right away, but absolutely there will be dies down the line. Can't say more than that though.
Got it.
Let's see. What project do you want to do that you haven't done? That's a good question, Josie. So as I was talking earlier about being in Taos, I went there with no idea of what I was going to do and came out with this installation that I made. So now that's a project that I am going to seek out. I'm going to seek out some locations where I can create some installation art. There's a number of fairs in the New York City area that where they give you basically a room and you take over the room. And so I'm going to seek that out because I really enjoyed the process of building it. And I actually surprised myself by enjoying the process of taking it down, which I thought was going to be painful, but was just part of the project. Where can we buy your products? So if you go to Seth Apter, SETH, Apter.com, and I think the link is probably included in the...
It's right below the video, in the description box.
I have a shop. And so all my active products are available in the shop. The embossing powders have been a bigger hit than expected. So right now, I do not have any to sell, but I will be reopening that for sales next week in my shop.
Excellent. Great.
How did you get started in the art world? That is a great story, and unfortunately, it's a long story. So I don't know if I could answer it, but suffice it to...
I've got time if you have time. I just don't want to keep you tied up. So it's totally, the ball's in your court. You do whatever you want to do.
All right, I'm gonna answer that question, Carla, but I'm gonna answer it a long story. I'm gonna make it somewhat shorter. I was never an artist. I was never interested in being an artist. I loved art. I lived in New York. I used to go to galleries, museums always, but I was never interested in making art until the year 2000, when I was traveling in the Pacific Northwest, and I went into a gallery in Vancouver, and I loved what I saw. It was mixed media. It was different than what I had seen. I spoke with the woman at the gallery. Her name was Patricia, and asked her about the artist, and it turns out she was the gallery owner and the artist. I spent the afternoon at a gallery. I really liked her. I liked her work. She was just telling me about her life in art. I bought 2 small pieces and went home. And about a month later, she mailed me a postcard thanking me for buying the work. And the postcard was a handmade postcard. And it was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. I was so touched that she took the time to make something. And I loved it. It would have been something I bought. So I decided I needed to thank her, and I made a postcard. And it was really the first thing I had made since probably grade school. And I mailed it back to her. And then she did me the favor, now I know it's a favor, of then mailing me something else. So I'm in New York City, she's in Vancouver, and she starts mailing me these things. And it inspired me. And also I can admit that I'm a little bit competitive, so I wanted to keep up. So I mailed other things back to her, and these things she mailed me were bigger and badder and better. And it just completely pulled me into the world of art in a completely unexpected way.
That's the best thing, when it just happens to you, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. It just happened. And for the longest time, it was just a hobby. It was really a pleasure and a hobby. And for many, many years, there was no intention of making it a career. And that just happened too, very naturally and very organically.
So it basically all started with a postcard and mail art swap, or happy mail swap, kind of, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was probably like 8 months before I even realized there was a name for mailing art back and forth.
That's cool. That's great.
But yeah, it was amazing. And she really, sometimes people come into your life and literally change it. And she definitely did that. So I owe her that
That's
gratitude.
great. Do you still keep in touch with her?
Oh yeah, we're quite good friends. She and I actually, the first time I went to Italy, I traveled with her and her family as well. So yeah, we're definitely connected.
That's great. Now, I saw a quick question back there about your stencils. They're also on your blog or on your website, right?
Yeah, so if you go to SethApter.com and just go to the shop, you will you'll see the stencil section. And my self-taught, 100% self-taught. I mean, I have taken some workshops, and I took some classes at the Center for Book Arts in New York, but never in class. I mean, never schooled at all. Not at all. And do I still have what the artist mailed to you? Josie, what a great question. I do. I have drawers full. And I keep thinking I need to either photograph it, or she and I should do an exhibition where she shows what I sent her and I show what she sent me. It was pretty amazing.
That's great.
Yeah.
That was worth this whole creative chat, just to hear that story. That was great. That's just a good story. Yeah.
I'm coming to West Palm Beach next month. I am going to be teaching in Florida later this year. You can see I travel everywhere. So if you're interested in my classes, you can just go to my website. Do I ever lose my mojo? Honestly, I hate to be the one to say this, but no, which is just weird. I just tend to work on 5 or 6 things at the same time. And so there's always something to work on. And if I get caught with something and I'm really not feeling it, I just move to the next thing.
But don't you think that one of the big reasons you don't lose your mojo is because you don't have an expectation? You're just playing and just seeing what happens. Like you said, if something isn't floating your boat, you just pick up the next thing, and there's always another idea. There's always another moment to see what happens.
100%. When you don't have something in mind that doesn't work, you don't get frustrated. When you don't get frustrated, you just feel you don't lose your creativity, which is my latest DVD. I have 2 latest DVDs. Can I just grab them really quickly?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. Okay.
All right, I wanted to do 2 DVDs that had a lot of technique. They were all technique-based. So unlike the other ones, which are project-based. Can you see with the glare?
Yeah, we can see it. Yeah.
Okay, so this one's called 10 Techniques for Painting Layers. And there's no one project that comes out of it. It's basically 10 different approaches to painting from mixed media layers, so that you would take these different techniques and decide which ones really appeal to you and then use them in your craft. And then this one's called 10 Techniques for Mixed Media Artists. And so this one goes through, I'm going to read the back cover, using gesso, painting, using ink, stenciling, stamping, fiber arts, embossing powders. There's just 10 different altering photos, just lots of different die cuts, things that you can use, some traditional, some a little less so, in your mixed media work.
Very good. Very good. Excellent. I can't wait for those. I love the download ability too. That's cool.
Oh yes, and you can, Eileen, you can download. They're all available downloading immediately at Artist Network TV. And yeah, it's something nice that when you want something, you can get it immediately that way.
Yeah.
Very appealing.
It is. It's just, you can get yourself in trouble doing that too, you know. Go,
That you
I'll
can.
have this one and that one, and yeah. Oh. Okay.
All right. So thank you so much.
Okay. And any last little thing you want to throw in there for us?
I'm just really, I'm just feel very fortunate of what I do, that I get to do what I do. And, you know, it's like spending my days being creative and being around creative people. It's, I never take it for granted. I just feel very, very fortunate, and connecting with people online like this is really, I love it. And I just have a lot of new things coming up that I haven't talked about, that I can't talk about. And, yeah, I just,
you know what that means? We're going to have to do this again.
Okay.
Doggone.
We can do that. We can absolutely do that.
That's great. Oh, we appreciate you. We really appreciate what you bring, the honesty and the respect that you bring into the art world, and the openness that you share with all of us. And we really appreciate that. And the inspiration that
Thank
you, for me, I can only speak for me, but you inspire me to reach higher, and you inspire me to do more than I think I can do. And I appreciate that.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that you said that. And I thank everybody who took the time. I mean, it's a lot of time, who took the time to watch and listen and ask and answer. And thank you. Thank you all.
All right, Seth, I'm going to let you go. Thank you so much for being here.
All right, see
we
you
will
again.
see you soon. Okay.
All right,
bye. Okay, hang on just a minute. Okay, we're back. Let me do one more thing here. Okay. All right. So, how'd you guys like that? You like that? All right. I'm just checking back. I'm sure that we missed some of your questions. Certainly not on purpose. We tried to catch everything as we went. Sometimes we do a better job than others. Because I'm trying to keep up with the pushing the buttons and keep it all, keep the boat afloat and read the chat and all of that. So sometimes it's a little challenging. Anyway, okay, thank you all so much for being here. We're gonna cut it off today. There is a slight chance that I will be back later this month, but I'm not gonna make a promise. I will put it out over social media if I do, but there's a slight chance that I'll be back in a couple of weeks or so and maybe do some sort of art thing with you guys, but don't hold me to it yet, okay? What did you use to do the two people in the video? I'm not sure what that question is, Ian, honestly. Sorry. Okay, so just to wrap up, and I will get the sponsors out here in just a second, because I'm sure they're dying to come out. At least Chance is. He hasn't seen you guys for a while, so I'm sure he wants to come out and chat with you. So I'll set up the cat cam there. Final thoughts. Thank you for being here. And the VIP class, again, is tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern. Your email will go out later today, so your link will be in there. And so let me get the sponsors, and then we'll wrap it up for today, okay? Yep, you were just... You guys, he was sitting at the door. Sitting at the door, waiting for it to open up. Yes, he was sitting at the door, waiting for you to come out and say hello. And here he is. Charlie must be still drunk in the sunshine. Oh, here he is. Are you coming out? Or are you just going to talk? You just going to talk about it? There's Charlie sitting over in the door. Chance is rubbing his face on the tripod, so he's making the camera go. So anyway, there's Chance. And so just in closing, again, we thank Seth so much for joining us. Thank you to each and every one of you for being here and joining us. It's been a great, really been a good day. So thank you so much for being here. And with that, I'm going to say, remember to get Charlie. I'm trying to close the show. Remember to get creative today, because you know it's easy. And we'll see you next time. So one more shot of the sponsors and then we're out. Be creative, you guys. You know you want to. And it's not hard. Okay. So we all say goodbye to you. So have a wonderful time until I see you again. So bye, everybody.